Well, welcome again to Bamm Raw TV, and to get on back to the section that we was gonna talk about, that people have been asking me about, my last free day on the street, what it contained of, and I also bring to. Let me say this to y'all. I appreciate the people who have already been subscribing and tuning in, and I ask that you subscribe and give me some comments or give me some things that you want to ask about that I'll be able to mention because the things that I'm compiling right now come from since I've been out this year and something things people been asking me or things been asking me on my Facebook page. So let's get together and we're gonna ask some things that y'all want to hear, and I'm gonna lay them down the best as I can and as real as I can from the prison to some of the past lives and stuff pertaining to our trial and that. All right, moving on. As they say, my last free day in the world. As me, I sit there and I basically, if I had to say, I would say it was my last day on earth. And I know it may seem a little dramatic, but it's actually was the last time in over 27 years that I had control of my body. I had control of my movements. I had control of the things within my spirit to do. And to be a man and have all that taken away from you is to be reduced back to the state of an infant child who cannot care for itself. And I just really, I don't know no man who constantly want to be in that position. And so that's why I want to give it to you as raw as I can for you to make the decisions that you need to make. And it's your choice either way it go. I'm just going to give you the truth. I'm not going to tell you no lies. I'm gonna tell you the truth, and that way you can decide, make your own decision. There's some wise men's out there. Now, on my last day, I got up in the morning. My wife fixed me breakfast. She fixed me breakfast. I went out and I looked at my car, and I looked around, looked out at my whole yard. It was like beautiful sunny day, but it was like a cloud hanging over my head. And it's something I couldn't understand how the day could be so beautiful and sunny, but I still feel like I had a cloud over my head. So I looked around, I look at the sky and I see it and like, man, something ain't right. But if I remember correctly from that transition of the day before, it's a lot of events that happened that I'll tell you about later that it came out in our trial, so it did make sense. But spiritually, I was aware that something was wrong, but consciously, knowledgeably, I wasn't receiving the message yet. So I got up and I looked around and I looked all the way around out the yard and I looked at the cars that I had in the yard. Every last one of the cars had some little imperfection or something that was wrong with it that prohibited me from wanting to drive. Everything from the battery, the battery was drawing, the music was drawing the fire in my battery, to the brake dust that was getting on my rims on my other car. So it's like basically I was like, man, forget this here. I'm gonna walk. I didn't want to be stuck nowhere in no car, so I said I'm gonna go and walk. So I go back in the house. I go get my 10 millimeter, which was my baby. My guns was real personal to me. That's why I was careful when I used them and why I used them because they, you know, getting rid of them. It bothered me to get rid of them. I almost like getting rid of one of each child. But anyway, I go back in there and I go get my 10 millimeter uh, nickel plated non-luminous, and I take it and I put it in a old pizza box that we had the night before. So I put it in the pizza box, and I take it and I put it in one of them white bags, plastic bags. And so I give my wife a kiss and I head on out the door. She tried to get me to stay. She said, "Won't you just stay in today and lay back and just lay back and enjoy the day?" I said, "No, I'm gonna go out here and see what's going on." So I leave out the door. And I leave out the door, I head toward Malum Street. I get on Malum Street and I decide I'm gonna go by my baby mama house over here in the project. So I head in that direction. I get about 3 blocks down Malum Street, and when I get about 3 blocks down Malum, a guy we'll say named BL BL shot over and pulled up next to me real fast in the car. So he pulled up, I said, I'm like, what's going on, man? So he tell me, he said, hey, man, I need you to come ride with me to go up on the Cooper Road to grab this money a guy owed me because the dude G had just shot at me, and he don't believe I'm paying his money, and I want to try to get the money to him and everything. But I want you to talk to him and let him know, man, that I'm gonna pay him not to be tripping like that and going on. So now my mind automatically tried to put it together that okay, this would be this incident that I had the black cloud over my head for. If I get in the car with BL, either G gonna see us together and assume that I come to take BL's side and they may cause a confrontation, or else me and BL be riding and G shoot and I have to return fire and probably kill G. So I'm thinking in my mind, I can do better by avoiding this whole situation, period. So I tell BL, I said, you go on up there on the Cooper Road, you get the money, and you come back down and you pay the man. He said, but what if he see me before? I said, I'm gonna go down there. And I said, don't you come down here and bring the money until 10 o'clock. I said, before then, I'm gonna be done went up there to the hotel and told him that, hey man, I talked to you, you got the money, you coming at 10 o'clock. Now if you don't do that after I done gave this man his word, then you're gonna have a problem with me and him. And so he like, no, I got it. So he leaves. I'm considering myself, I think I done dodged a bullet. I continue to walk on. I walk about 6 more blocks, and then I go around there to the projects. I go in there to see my baby mama and my daughter. So I go in there and see my daughter, my baby mama. I catch up on everything, what they in need of, what they don't have, and what need to be done. And she informed me, update me on everything since I hadn't been over there for a couple of days. I had been down to wife number 3 house spending most of my time down there taking care of some things. So my daughter, I put her in front of Barney program that she loved to watch, and I set her down to watch it, and I go to leave for the door, and she just started crying and grabbed me by my leg and trying to stop me from leaving. Said something she never done before, like Daddy, and like, hey, turn me loose now, Rabbit, sit down and watch the show. And she was just steady holding me and crying. I'm like, hold on. So I said, Rabbit, sit down. And so she sit down and she was crying and biting her fingernails, steady crying. She wasn't even watching Barney. So I turn around to my baby mom and I tell her, I say, hey, what's going on with this girl not listening to me? Because most of my children, even at that age, I never put my hands on them, but I could pretty much, when I say something at the right tone, they pretty much they'll reluctantly do what I told them to do, but they'll still do it and don't give me no hesitation. So I told her, Mom, I said, what's going on with her? Why is she acting like this? And she told me, you know how that girl is? I said, all right, well, we going to fix that because this ain't going to be happening no more. So I go to leave out the door. When I leave out the door, I head down to wife number 3 house, to my blue house as we known to call it. So I get down to the blue house. By the time I get down to the blue house, that's when I see my sons all on the porch, and they all sitting on the porch because we do not, based on the policy that I live by, and most of the people that associate with me live by, is I don't go in my homeboys or my friends or whatever. I don't go in their house if they girl there and they're not present. So we don't do that. So I had about 15 dudes sitting on the porch waiting on me to get there so we could all enter the house and start drinking and preparing the food that I usually prepare on these days. So when I come there, my sons see me and they wife number 3 come out there, open the door. We all come on in and everything because she had been bringing them drinks and stuff out on the porch. So they was already getting juiced up. So I walked in the house and everything, and I go in there and I tell my son Rep, I said, what we gonna cook today? Because I generally cooked every day because a lot of people I food with, they don't have time to sit there and make a proper meal. So while I'm at my blue house thinking of things or trying to put a plan together, I'm cooking at the same time. So Rep said, let's try something different. So I said, okay. So I thought about this pork chop casserole that I had once remember my mama cooking. So I said, I'm gonna try a pork chop casserole. So we go down there. I send wife number 3 down to the stove to grab everything that we need to cook the meal, but I also grab us some more alcohol because I kept a credit down there at the store. Sometime just between my drinking, it'll run up to 700 to 1,000 in 2 weeks. But I always paid the man, so it was good. We was never denied anything when it come to that. So I sent her down there to get the things and get her whatever she needed for the house. So when she came back up from going to the store, grabbing the pork chops and all the rice and everything that we need, the cream of mushroom soups, and so when she brings him back, she get up there and she tell me, she said, a guy who ended up later on being my co-defendant, she said, hey, he wants you, G wants you down, dude wants you down there. And I said, what's up? Said they didn't grab, they didn't grab, uh, they didn't grab Tippy. The feds didn't grab Tippy, and we trying to figure out what the problem is with him and going on. What could he have done for the Fed to be involved in grabbing him? Tippy ain't nobody. So I said, okay, then well, let me get on down there. So I get on down there, and they explained to me that, hey, all we know is Tippy been arrested by the feds, and we can't think of no other reason. Since at that time, I knew a little bit about the law based on some of the people I had been around. They told me I always study my own case and everything. So I went there and I asked him, I said, well, what exactly was Tippy doing? And like most of us, we couldn't say what the next man was doing from day to day. So everybody like, man, we don't know. We don't know what Tippy was into. So I said, well, do he be buying checks from people? Or do he be messing with checks? Was he on the base? Do he be trying to sell drugs to people on the army base? And nobody could figure out what it was. So I said, well, we'll be speculating all day. All we can do is sit and wait, have his mom or somebody call us as soon as he called them, and then we'll find out what's going on, and we'll go from there and going on. I'll talk to my lawyer. We'll talk to somebody who know about it. And so I left and I headed back up toward the Blue House. Now when I go back up to the Blue House, I notice a strange car. It's parked about a block up the street in the parking lot of a place that used to be called Pete Harris, and pretty good, darn good restaurant. It's no longer in existence now, but it's got different branches that are spread out from it. So I sit there and I looked at the car, and I get this black. I still got this black cloud all over me, but I get some kind of connection with this car. And I looked at it and I can't see who in it, but it's just the way it's printed that you can see that it's looking down this way, but it's trying to seem obvious that they're not looking down this way. So the car is pointed at an angle where they can look through the side window, but the car is actually pointed toward the street. So I go in there, I come on the porch. I go in there, I step on the porch. I call a couple of my sons out the house, and I tell two of them, I said, go up there and see who's in that car and what the deal is. So they go up there. When they go up there to the car, they go up there and holler at the people. They say, they ask the people, hey, what's up? What you looking at down here? Who you looking for? You got what? You looking for somebody? You got a problem with somebody or whatever? And said, the guy said, no, we ain't got no problem. And they drove off. And so when they came back, they relayed this information to me and everything, but they also relayed their observation. They said, Dad, man, these were pretty good sized guys. And then plus it was a white guy in there with a black guy. And they seemed kind of official, Dad. He said, Dad, these some type of police, and these ain't just no regular police. I said, yeah. I said, well, I said, y'all ain't did nothing, have you? You ain't. They said, no, Dad, we ain't into nothing. I said, okay, well, they ain't got no business come down here and mess with us. I'm finna go and cook this food. So I go in there and I start cooking the food and everything. We put on our MTV music and sit there listening to other music, and we play with the snake and playing with my big day in the front room, playing with my big snake and everything. So as I continue to cook, I'm cooking the food and everything, and we're drinking the gin. And a lot of times we pass around the bottle, basically, instead of a lot of us didn't drink out of cups, so we passed around the bottle. But long story short, I'm in there cooking the food, and when I'm cooking for someone, I like to continually wash my hands, because I don't like to touch no one food if I didn't touch another object. And the fact that all of us were drinking out of the bottle, I would have been washing my hands every 2 seconds. So what I had Rep doing was Rep was pouring the gin down my throat. As I mentioned on my podcast with John Bertham, Rep was pouring the gin down my throat, and then he was following it up by pouring some 7-Up down my throat, because I don't drink my gin mixed.